Hey everyone, it's me, Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in Northern California. How are you? Welcome to the Solstice Nova class. I'm really excited to share this with you. And without any further ado, let's get started by talking about the materials that we're going to need for class. So, first thing that you're going to need for class is a Micron PN pen. I love the PN pens, but you can use an O1 or an O3, whichever one is working best for you. I'm also going to be using a brown Micron PN pen. This is a really nice pen to work on tan tiles with. I have my Sakura Gold pen, my Signo Uniball white pen. You know me, I think that this is my favorite white pen on the market, just nice bold white color. And then I'm going to be using a graphite pencil. Now, I'll be teaching this class on a multitude of surfaces, and so what I want to say about this is the main class is going to be done on a white tile. This is the Genesis tile from the Tangled Yogi shop, and I will be teaching the majority of the class on this tile. However, if you want to get creative with this class and try working on tan tiles, you can take a white tile. So this tan tile is 4.5 by 4.5. If you get a 3-inch tile and you glue it down to your piece, I just got some cardstock and did 3 inches by 3 inches, then you can have different textures to work on and different colors to work on, and that's how some of these were done in the background. Okay, so you could also try it also on the black, which is really beautiful. So you just take a tile that's 3 inches by 3 inches and glue it to your tan cardstock, and then you can do the whole thing on a tan and black cardstock, which is a lot of fun. So with that said, let's get started with the Solstice Nova. So many of you know that I live here in Tahoe, California, and I thought I would share with you the beautiful snow scenery that's happening here by our home while we do a little centering meditation. Go ahead and take a comfortable seated position, however that best works for you inside of your body today. And then let your eyes close, softening in your shoulders, relaxing in your arms and your chest, your belly and your hips, your thighs, the knees, the calves and the ankles. And letting your attention fall on your breath as you breathe in to the count of 4. Hold the breath in to the count of 4. And then exhaling to the count of 8. Breathing in to the count of 4. Hold the breath in for 4. And exhaling to the count of 8. One more time, breathing in for 4. Holding for 4. And exhaling to the count of 8. Allowing your breath to return to its natural pace and noticing if there's a little bit more fullness in the breath. Scanning through the body and softening any places where you might still be holding tension. And when you feel ready, wiggling in your fingertips and your toes, and gently blinking the eyes open and adding vision back into your practice. And let's get ready to tangle. All right, so let's get started here. As you can see, I've got my Genesis tile here, and I've got my graphite pencil, and I'm just going to start by creating a little bit of a border, but this is going to be a little bit different from what we normally do. So I'm actually going to come into the center of where this top line is, and I'm just going to put a dot as to where I think the center is, and I'm going to turn my tile and do it again. And again, and again. So I'll have 4 dots where I think the center of that line is. Now we're going to play connect the dots here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and draw a diagonal line right here, turning my tile, drawing a diagonal line, turning my tile, diagonal line, and last one right here, diagonal line. Really fun border here. This is one of my favorite borders to do, and so you have this really nice diamond shape on the inside. And don't worry if it's not perfect, you really won't see it when we come around to making more of the pieces that we're going to be working on. Now, I do want to give you guys a little bit of an alternative as well if you are doing this online. So for those of you who are on YouTube that are taking this class, what you could do is you could take a tan tile and you could cut out a black tile, and you could put that in by laying that down and gluing it onto your piece, and then you've got 2 different colors that you can work on. And throughout this class today, I'm going to show different ways of doing this. And some of you who were early on to the Tangled Yogi train saw that I did these tiles early on, and I called them the duo tile. They were really labor intensive, so I stopped making them, but they're pretty easy for you to make. So what we have here is a 4.5 by 4.5, and then I've got a 3-inch tile on the inside. Now you can use really nice craft paper or cardstock to glue to this, and you can use Elmer's glue for that. So go ahead, make your tile with the diamond in the center, and if you're feeling adventurous and want to make a duo tile for yourself, go ahead and grab one of those as well. When we come back, we are going to get started. Alright, so I have picked up my Micron PN pen, and I'm going to go ahead and start to do an overdraw. So really what an overdraw is you're just going right over the lines that you just drew in graphite. And this is kind of a nice way of cleaning up your lines if you need to go ahead and clean them up. So you can see that I've got that all set and ready to rock and roll. And now I'm going to do an interior aura in the piece. Now in Zentangle we talk about auras, and auras are exactly what they sound like. It's just an echo line or a second line that's very close by, and you can see that I've put dots in each of my corners here, and I'm just going to aura that first line that I did, but I'm going to do it internally. So you see that I'm turning my tile to make it easy for my hand here. And just take your time. So there you can see I've got a really nice aura inside of the center of my piece here. I'm going to pick up my pencil one more time, and we're going to divide the space. We're going to build our string just a little bit more. So all I'm going to do is go from this corner down to this corner, and you can see I'm barely touching the page with my pencil. And that way I can divide the space. So you can see that I've got these really nice kind of quadrants to work in, but actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building our tangle around those lines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to start to divide the space from side to side. Now I'm still going super light with those pencil lines, so that we end up with a string that looks a little something like that. I'm also going to go into these corners that we have in here and build another border. So what this is going to look like is I'm going to come in and I'm going to go ahead and divide this space so that I get a smaller corner on the outside edge. And I would say that this is an inch right in here. I think it looks like an inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one more aura line right here. And you can still see that I'm working in pencil. And then I'm going to go up to this little corner right here, and I'm going to do an aura. And you can see that I'm laying down my dots. I'm going to aura in here, in here. And you can see that I'm kind of mimicking that corner by giving it a rounded edge. So that way, when I hold this up, you can see that I've created an aura in there. So I'm going to go all the way around with my pencil and do that in each of the corners. You go ahead and do yours, and we'll meet back here. Alright, so you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around with that. Now I'm going to go just to the corners and ink them in. So this is where you have a chance to clean up any lines that aren't working for you. And I'm going to go all the way around the piece and just work on my corners here. So you can see that I'm just taking my time and bringing that together. I'll go all the way around. I'll do this one again so that you guys can see what I'm up to. Coming in here. Making it easy for your hand by turning the tile. And then going all the way around. Okay? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pick up our pencil one more time here, and we're going to start to build inside of our square that we have. Now, I know some of you are a little intimidated by making circles, and coins are a wonderful way to just get out of your head about making a circle. So I'm just going to center my coin right here in the center here, and I've got my quarter handy, but if you're in another country, you just want to have a fairly large coin, and I'm just going to go ahead and trace around that coin with my pencil. Now, if you have a circle maker, that's great, you can use that. I'm just thinking of something that everybody would have in their home. And you can see that I've lined that up pretty well. Now I'm also going to go around and aura that circle, and I have found that when I'm doing auras of circles, it really helps to just go from halfway to halfway or quarter to quarter. So for me, I'm just taking my time and really just being mindful as I go ahead and aura. And it's okay if you have a wiggle or a wobble. That just makes you human. Once you've got that, you can go ahead and start to bring in your pen and go ahead and overdraw. So you're going to see me come in and do my overdrawing first. And I do my overdrawing just the way that I do my auras because I like to take my time with circles. And then I'll go do the aura. And you can breathe and relax, meet the challenge with an open heart. And there you have it. You've got your circle right in the center of the piece here. So, if you need to pause me here, this is a great place to do it. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on rolling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to build the piece out. And what this is going to look like is I'm going to take the lines that are here. So you can see that I'm working with the piece on the diamond. So it looks like a diamond here. And I'm just going to take this line right here and carry it all the way out to the edge here. And then I'm going to put a circle right on the edge of it. I'm going to go to the next corner and do the exact same thing. So all I'm doing is going from corner to corner and putting a circle on the edge of each of these. Last one right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these pieces that are at the halfway point. I'm going to carry them all the way out towards the edge. I'll stop just shy and go again. so that you end up with a piece that looks a little something like this. So go ahead and do yours, I'll do mine, and then when we come back, we're going to start tangling. So for those of you who are going ahead and trying it with the black in the center, I wanted to talk to you about how I'm going about creating this. And I'm going to just zoom in really quickly here. So what I've gone and done is I've taken my Generals pencil from Zentangle. This is the chalk pastel pencil. This is not your Prismacolor pencil. This is the chalk pastel one from Generals. You can see right here that it says the Generals on it. And so what I'm doing is I've gone and divided the space with that pencil, and then I'm going to go ahead and do an internal border on that particular tile. Now I'll do everything that we just did on the white tile on the black tile, but I'm going to use gold instead of using white for the inside. And what I love about the Generals is that it's really easy to go over the gold with. Now I'm going to grab that coin and start to center the coin so that I can do my little circle here. You can see I'm just tracing around it with my Generals pencil. But everything that we just did, I'm now going to go over with gold pen. So I happen to have the Sakura gold, but you can go and use any gold that you like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by going over that really nice circle that we just did. And I'll go ahead and do that again, make it easy for my hand here. I love working with gold on black. There's just nothing more satisfying. And you're going to see me start to create those lines with the circles on the end of it. Taking your time. And I'll just do half for the demo here so that we don't take up too much time on the video for those of you who are not doing this. And then I'm just going to go over my border right in here and clean that up with the gold. And what I love about the chalk pastel pencil is that it erases really well. So if you have any residue left over from the Generals pencil, you can always take a gummy eraser and just erase out those lines. So you can see that I'm just getting right in there. And then I'll go ahead and I'll do an internal aura since it looks like I forgot to do it on the outside. So, you know, these are the things that we learn in Zentangle. We make do with what we have, right? So if you have a little opportunity, you just make it work to your advantage. So there's that. And then I'll just do this little one right down here. So I'll go ahead and I'll finish up these two off camera. Now for the outside edge, I'm actually going to use the Micron brown. I love this brown color. It's wonderful. And so what I'm going to do is I'll come back and I'll do all of my overdrawing with the Micron brown, and I just love the way that brown looks on top of a tan tile. There's just something that is very antique about it and beautiful. So you can see that I'm just going through and working with the brown, and look at how lovely these two play off of each other, the gold and the brown together. So go ahead and do yours if you're working with the black tile. And then if you are one of the folks that are working with the white on tan, you can see that I did the gold in the center and then I used white on the outside. So lots of fun, lots of different ways to try this. One of the things that I talk to my students about all the time is come back and try things in a different way, because you may be surprised at how differently the composition turns out. You may decide that you like a different color with it or a different style with it. So I really want to encourage you to try this as many different ways as possible. And in the end, we will make a little ornament out of this so that you can see what it's like. You could give it as a gift for somebody during the holidays. It's still early enough that you can make a few of these. All right, I'll see you in a minute. So you can see that I've had a chance to complete all three of these, and I have a fabulous template now, and I can do all sorts of stuff inside of these. It's going to be really, really fun. So I'm going to be working on the white one, but we will have a chance to look at some of those other tiles in a few minutes. So let's go ahead and start tangling inside of the piece here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start to create a little bit of a tangle that's in these spaces in between, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to come in right in the space in between here, and I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a tall line. And what this is going to look like is it's going to go up, and then it's going to go down at a diagonal angle, and then it's going to come all the way back in again. Now, like the Tangle Biscus, it's going to come out off the side a little and jump down, and then it's going to come down off the side a little bit and jump down, and then I'll go over to the other side and do the same. And if you have room for one more, you can do one more on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So I'm going to turn my tile. You can see that I'm coming out, making a line that goes up, that's dividing the space, and then I'm going to do a diagonal and come down. So I'm going to go right next to this one and do the same thing, coming out and down, and then I'm going to go again. And I think I can get one more in there. I'll come over to the other side and do the same. So I'm just turning, looking for the midway point, coming out, doing a soft diagonal line there, stepping down, and stepping down. Same thing over here. Super fun and easy, and it really builds this beautiful dramatic petal. So go ahead and do yours all the way around, and then when we come back, we're going to start to build into the outside edges. Have fun! So look at how interesting this is on all different surfaces. You have it on black, you have it on white, and then you have the gold on white, which is really, really fun as well. So all different kinds of ways of doing this. I just hope that this is inspiring for you. So let's take away these other two, and we're going to start to focus back in on this piece right in here. And we're going to do a tangle that I really love. It's going to be a little bit like Zenith, which is a really, really fun tangle to do. So let me just flip this over right here, and we'll talk about Zenith here. So what Zenith is a series of triangles. So you can see that I'm just going to go ahead and take a bunch of triangles here. Kind of looks like a W. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create these petal-like shapes, just like so. Now, once I have these petal-like shapes, this is where we're going to start to deviate from Zenith just a little bit. So we're going to come in and we're going to add a little flower inside. And then you can see that I've got these triangles on the outside edge. I'm going to play with those right now. So what this is going to look like is I'm going to come in and I'm going to do an aura inside. And then inside of each of those auras, I'm going to go ahead and do some diagonal lines. And it just gives a really interesting feel. So I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to pick back up my pencil and I'm going to start to create my triangle. So you're going to see me just go across Now I probably should have started just by making the triangle in the middle and then going off of the sides of it. That makes it easier, but we're here now, so we're just going to continue on. So once you have that, that's really what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and try that little idea out right here. So you can see that I'm just going to take this and make a triangle right in the center, and then I'm going to let my line go out and let my line go out. I'll do the same thing over here. So a nice triangle in the center. Let it go out and let it go out. Last time, triangle in the center. Let it go out and let it go out. Now once I have that, I'm going to pick up my black micron pen since we're working on the white tile here today, and I'm just going to do a quick overdraw. Now once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and create part of the zenith, which is really fun, so I'm just going to go ahead and do my little leaves. And then I'm going to go ahead and create that flower. Right before the edge, I'm going to create the little circle. So it's a leaf in, and then the circle coming out. So I've got my two little flowers there, and now I'm going to go into the inside and make my internal aura. I'll go over here because this looks like a triangle already, and I'll just do an internal aura, and then one more over here. And then I'm going to let this line be my guide. So I'm just going to go ahead and go 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go all the way around and do that. So let's do it one more time together. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my overdraw. Internal aura. I'm going to create my leaves. Create the flower. And then I'll come in and I'll do the diagonals. Over here as well. Super easy, super fun, and it gives such a cool border. So go ahead and do yours. I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to do it in all the colors. And then when we come back, we'll start to work in these triangles. Isn't this fun? It's really coming along. So let's look at these triangles in the corner here. We're going to work with the concept of a fragment. In Zentangle, often if we have a grid, we will use a fragment tangle to fill in that grid. Now, today we don't really have a grid, but we do have a place where we can use a fragment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into where this triangle is, and I'm going to echo the motion that's happening in this outside tangle onto this tangle right here. So remember how we created those leaves for the beginning of Zenith? What we're going to do is we're just going to come in and just create those arcs in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place a tipple right in the center. I know, surprise, surprise, right? So this fragment is known as B12 or C12. Now, you can come in and you can puddle this fragment in here, and it really brings that tipple forward. Now, some people know this tangle as triple E. It is part of triple E, but if it's by itself, it's a fragment. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start to work my way around and just fold it in. And then I'm going to go ahead and puddle. So go ahead and do that with yours on all four corners. And if you're working on the other tiles, you can, put something different in there if you want to. I just happen to really love this tangle because look at how it brings your eye outwards. So it really owns that outside space when you puddle it in, which is really fun. Okay, so go ahead, play around, and I'll see you in a minute. So let's start to introduce some color into the piece here. I've gone in with my eraser and got any of those pencil marks to come off of the piece here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working with 3 different colors for this piece. Now don't worry if you don't have the same exact colors, just see if you can get into the same hue. I've got a light blue and a dark blue, but I've also got a little bit of a bright green in here. Now for those of you at home who have Prismacolors, I have PC 992, this is the light aqua. And then I've been playing around with a really fun blue. This is the Peacock Blue, PC 1022, I believe it is. And really, really fun color. And then finally, I have in my hand PC 912, and this is the spring green. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with that light blue first. Oh, I apologize. The Peacock Blue is 1027. So I'm going to start with the light blue first, and I'm going to do some shading inside of this piece here. Now you can see that I'm all sharpened up and I have a really nice long lead. I'm going to work on the side of that pencil, and you can see that I'm holding the pencil really far back. Laying down the lead onto the paper here, I'm pushing the lead into the paper or rubbing the lead on the side of the pencil into the paper. You're noticing here that I'm going to get a little bit of a light source on that left-hand side, and then the rest of it is going to get filled in. Now, one of the things that I talk about a lot is about the amount of pressure that you put on your pencil. I'm going very, very lightly with this blue. I'm not going really heavy. Now I'm going to pick up that teal blue, that peacock blue that I have here. Once again, notice that I'm all sharpened up, and I'm going to lay the pencil down on its side, and I'm going to go about halfway through that blue that I just laid down. And once again, I'm not doing a heavy pressure. The key with pencil work like this is that you always want to go light first, and then you can come back later and deepen it. So you can see that I'm getting a really nice dusting of color here. Working with the pencil in a nice circular motion. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to press a little bit harder onto that pencil. And you can see that that pencil is going to hug the side of the piece. So I'm just going through and working on the side of the pencil and giving this a little bit of a heavier edge on it. And then once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and change the way that I'm holding my pencil, and I'm going to give it an even heavier press. And you can see that I'm working around the orb here. Now once I have that, I'm going to come back in with some of that lighter aqua, and I'm going to start to blend in where that dark is meeting the light aqua. And you can see that I'm going very, very lightly, and the pencil is working in a circular motion. Now here's where I really love to play and be playful with color here. I kind of want this to look like a little bit of labradorite. So I'm going to bring in a little bit of my bright green here. This is the spring green. And I'm just going to dust a little bit of that green right on the edge of where that little light center is, or light source. I'm going to let it slightly dip into that light aqua. And that just gives this a beautiful gem feel. Now, normally I'd be just fine leaving this alone, but I've been really playing with the idea of throwing things into my gems lately. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tangle inside of my gem. And what this is going to look like is I'm going to come in and make this a little bit bigger. And some of you guys have done wallpapering with me before, so this is using the same wallpaper technique. I'm going to come in with that dark pencil. This is the peacock blue, and I'm going to go very lightly with that peacock blue. Now remember these lines that were going down the center here? I'm going to use those to create the tangle bail. And I'm just going to go ahead and start by putting in a little bit of a petal. And I'll do one right here. So wallpapering is just taking the color that you were just working with and tangling with it. So I'm going to turn it on its side, and I'm going to add in another set of petals. And I'll do another one right over here. And then once I have bails in there, you can see I've got my bails, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little petal on the outside of each of these. Now here I'm going to leave it alone, almost as if the sheen is making it so that you can't see that petal. In the center, I'm going to add a little definition to it. Now what I love about this is that it just gives a little bit of interest to the inside of the piece. And so it's just not your average gemstone. It actually has a little something on the inside of it, which is really fun. You can see that I'm going through and cleaning up my lines, making sure that everything is nice and concise here. I think it just makes it a little bit more interesting. Okay, go ahead and do yours. I'm going to go ahead and start to play with some of the other ones that I have here, and then when we come back, we'll start to work on the outside petals. Now, before we start working on the other piece in here, I wanted to just address the black tile if any of you guys are using the black tile. I'm using the same exact colors that I just used on the other piece here, and I have the light blue in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to shade in with that light blue, just the same way that I did on the other. Now, on the black, I must admit I will be using a little bit more pressure on that pencil so that I can get a little bit more of that color on there. But I love the way that color works on top of black. There's just something so elegant about it. And you know me, I'm a little obsessed with Art Deco themed pieces, so this is really, for me, a pleasure to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just getting that nice dusting of blue on here. And then I'm going to pick up that dark blue, this is the peacock blue, and bring it in. And I know that you probably think, oh, it's going to get lost in the piece, but because we've laid down that light aqua, we're really able to see the two different hues quite nicely. So just getting in there and layering that up. And then I'll start to blend the two together. So you're going to see me come back in with that light aqua and just dust right over the top of it to get a nice blending between the two. Now once I've had a chance to get a nice blend on those two, I'm going to come in with my pencil from my Prismacolor set. This is PC938. So this is different than the General's pencil. This actually is a waxed based pencil. You want to make sure that your pencil is clean, so make sure that there's no pigmentation on it. And I'm just going to go ahead and start to come in here and start to make my light source. Now I'm going to let that light source start to carry back. Now I'm lightening my touch just a little bit so that it actually starts to blend the colors and gives a little bit of a softening. You can see it looks a little bit rough, so I'm going to come in with a little bit of my light aqua and dust that in just a little bit. Now once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and start to bring in some of that green. And you can see that just by bringing in a little bit of that green on top of the white, it gives it a really nice kind of opaque feel. So it has a little bit of heaviness to it, but not too much. But look at how that just bounces right off the page. It just gives it so much energy. Now remember the idea that we had where we were doing a little bit of the wallpaper? I'm going to see if we can bring wallpaper into this piece too. So I've got a little bit of my dark blue in my hand here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring in that Bales flower right into the piece. I'll turn it on its side, bring it in that way, and over here as well. I'm going to come in and add those little petals. And then once again over here I'm going to leave it alone. So you can see there's just that very, very light suggestion of the Bales flower in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with just a touch of my light aqua and do just a little bit of highlighting in here, just so that that Bales flower comes through just a little bit. And it really does come in with a little bit of that green and just give it a little bit of a dust. Makes it look so interesting. So go ahead and play with yours, and then when we come back we'll start to work with the outside piece. Now I've gone and added a little bit of white into the tips in here so that I got a little bit of definition going on, and look at how that has really changed the piece. It's given it such an interesting feel in the center. So go ahead and add just a little bit of touch of white in the tips on yours, and then maybe adding a little bit of darkness right into the center to give it that pop. Okay, so we are going to start to take our color and move it outward here. And I really wanted to keep in the Solstice fashion here and use cooler colors for the piece in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my lavender, which is PC934, and I have my Dahlia purple, which is PC1009. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to just start to dust one of the petals of our sun in here. And I'm just going very, very softly with that lavender. Remember, very, very light pressure here. And then once you have that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Dahlia purple. Now I'm going to come up about halfway through this piece. You'll notice that I've got that Dahlia purple on its side and it's really well sharpened up. I'm really going for a very soft color in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a push right on the inside edge. So you can see that I'm really trying to hug that inside line. Now, once you've got that, I'm going to come back in with a little bit of the lavender, and I'm going to dust where the lavender and the dahlia purple meet. You can see that the pencil is working in a circular-like motion. And then I'm going to start to dip down into the piece and really give it a push. So that I get a really rich purple off of that. So I'm going to go all the way around and do that throughout the whole piece. You go ahead and do yours as well. Now for those of you who are working on the black tile, you can see that I'm right in here working on the black tile, and I've laid down that lavender, and you can see that I'm just doing a quick dusting of that dahlia purple. Notice how I'm working around that gold a little bit. Going over the gold is it's okay if you do it, but I'm trying to preserve the lines as much as I can. I'm going to grab that lavender again and start to blend a little bit of where the dahlia purple is meeting the lavender. And you can see that it just brings a little bit of a softening or a blurring of the line in here. Now, another thing that you can do that would be really lovely on this is you can dust the edges with a little bit of that white. So you can see that I've got a little bit of the white just dusting on the edge to give it a little bit of a highlight. And look at how that makes that pop versus over here. So you can see that I'm going to start to carry it around and give it a little bit of a pop. And boy, this is really turning out to be quite a pretty piece, the way that the black is handling that. So much fun. So I'm going to go all the way around and use that technique, and then when we come back, we're going to start to carry the color that's in here out into the outside edge. Okay, so I'm going to take that really pretty green that we had right in here, and I'm going to start to dust it around the edge of the star in here. And I'm just going to go very, very softly with it. You can see by the way that I'm holding the pencil that I'm actually working with it on its side, and I'm doing little circular motions with it. And I'm only going to do half of this so that you can just have it for the demo here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dust into this little area and get a really nice soft edge of that green in here. And you can see how that just really has a nice contrast with the purple, which I love. I'm always looking for beautiful contrasting colors. So I'm just getting right in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use a little bit of that blue that we started with. So I'm going to grab some of that light aqua first, and I'm going to go ahead and start to dust around the outside edge of where the petals are and give it a really nice kind of almost greenish teal color. I love the way that that blue goes right over that green. It just gives it even more of an aqua feel, almost tropical in nature. Now once I've had a chance to go all the way around, I'm going to come back in with that darker blue to add a little bit of drama to the piece. So I'm picking up that darker blue. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. So I'm picking up that darker blue, and now I'm starting to dust in the darker blue. And you're going to see me stay really nice and close to the sun here, or the petals. So I'm just working my way around and getting that nice dramatic effect in here. It really makes the petals pop off the page. Now I'm going to blur out some of that edge in there where the blue is meeting the light aqua, and you're going to see the pencil start to work in a little bit of a circular motion to get that kind of blurry effect. Now once I've done that, I'm going to start to let that aqua carry off. Now what I mean by that is I'm going to lighten up my touch and just let it carry off. I'm going to do the same thing over here and let it carry off. And just let it soften. So if you are doing the white tile in here, that's going to be how you're going to handle the rays around the sun. Now, if you are doing the black tile on top of the tan, what I'm going to do is very similar, except we're going to use a little bit more white. So I'm coming in with that really pretty green, and you'll notice that that green is really soft next to that black, and that's because that green doesn't have a ton of pigmentation to it. So it's going to be a little bit more muted. And you can see that it really does have a beautiful contrast next to that purple. So I'm just getting in there and getting that green in there. And then once I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the aqua. And the aqua's got a lot more white in it than the green does. So you're going to see it actually create a little bit of a highlight around the petals, which is really pretty. So it almost gives it a glow. Now you'll notice that I'm going to let that aqua carry off just a little bit. And over here as well. I'm going to go over here and do the same. And let it come down and around, and then I'll let it carry off again. Now instead of going dark around the petals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my white and I'm going to let the white dust around the petals. And you can see that that brings a really beautiful electricity to the piece. I'll come in over here and do the same. And look at how that glows. Isn't that so pretty? So I'll come back in with a little bit of that aqua just to dust it down a little bit. And then I'll pick up that green again and I'll blur out a little bit of that aqua. Now I'm giving that green a little bit more of a push this time. It's more of a medium pressure. But look at how pretty that is just in that little corner. So we're going to go all the way around and do that all the way around. Have fun with this. This is going to be such a fun piece. Look at how fun that is. I just love how different they are in their presentation, but really not that much different in the way that we're creating them. So let's go ahead and start to focus on the outside edge in here. So I'm going to bring this guy in. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to work with a little bit more of the greens here. I'm going to grab for a darker green, but I'm also going to continue to carry that same green that we worked in the inside of the piece with. So I've picked up a darker green. This is the peacock green. This is PC 907. Now if you don't have this one, you could use grass green, you could use marine green. There's so many great greens in the Prismacolor set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the light green first. And what this is going to look like is I'm just going to dust the edges of these petals that we have in here, or the leaves that we have in here. And then once I have that, I'm going to carry that color one more time. And what that means is I'm going to go around this corner with that green. So I'm going to turn my piece to make it easy for my hand, and I'm just going to dust the border with that green. just to give it a little bit of continuity. So you can see there's that really nice corner. Now I'm going to pick up the darker green and I'm going to dust down into the tips of the leaves in here. So I'm going nice and light because this has a lot of pigmentation in it, so I don't need to use a lot. And then I'm going to press a little bit heavier in the corners. Now once I've got that, I'm going to do a similar thing up in the triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the corners of the triangle and start to dust. Coming in here. So I'm going very, very lightly. This has a ton of pigment in it, so I don't want it to get too dark. And then I'm going to go right over the top as well. And notice how that leaves a really nice light sheen in the center of each of these areas. So you can see that it gives it a little bit of sheen. Now I'm going to come back in and give it a stronger dusting right at the tips of each corner. And you can see that that really makes it pop. I'm going to carry that all the way around. So go ahead and do all of your corners just like that. And then when we come back, we'll start to add a little bit more to it. So let's add a little bit more to the piece here to make it interesting. I'm going to start to bring in some warmer tones into the outside of this piece. So in my hand I have one of my favorite colors. This is the mineral orange. This is PC1033, one of my favorite colors. And then as of lately I've been really enjoying the goldenrod, which is PC934. These two are just magic together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and start to add a little bit of the goldenrod first right into this area in here around the triangle that we have. And so I'm going to dust that in. And not unlike what we did with those leaves in our tangle here, I'm going to start to add that same kind of heavy darkness right at the corners. So it will look a little something like this. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a little bit of the darker color. So this is the mineral orange now. And you can see that it just goes right over the goldenrod in such a nice way. Those two just blend very nicely together. I'll come in here and do the same. And then I'm going to take some of that same color and bring it down towards the bottom and down in here as well. And then I'll go ahead and blur out my edges just a little bit with the goldenrod. So you can see that I'm just dancing back and forth between the goldenrod and the dark mineral orange. I'm going to come in right over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring in the goldenrod right into the corner here. So I'm going to come right up into our fragment. So I'm going very lightly at first. Then I'm going to pick up the goldenrod, or rather the mineral orange, and give it a little dusting here and here. And down in here as well. I'm going to blur it out just a little bit because you can see those lines are pretty hard. And that brings so much dimension into that corner. Now, for the final part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of that lavender that we were using early on inside the piece, and I'm going to start to bring that into the orb that's in the center. So I'll take a little bit of that lavender and bring it in. Notice how I'm leaving a little bit of light source here. I'll bring in some of that dahlia purple as a little bit of darkness. And that gives that a ton of dimension. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into this area right in here and start to bring that lavender now into the area of where those triangles are. Once I have the lavender in the triangles, I'm also going to bring that lavender into every other one in these triangles. So you're going to see me come in and do some striping in here, which will bring a really neat graphic feel. And then I'll pick up the dahlia purple again, and once again I'm going for the corners. And then I'll also go into every other stripe with the dahlia purple. Once again, going for a nice graphic feel. So you can see that that really brings a nice dimension into the piece here. Now I might come in and clean up that dahlia purple just by blurring it out a little bit with the lavender, because the paper is showing a little bit of texture. And then I think I'm going to add in just a touch of the goldenrod right inside of each of those flowers. And because these flowers are so small, it would be really difficult to do that whole highlight. So go ahead and go around and do all of your corners, and then when we come back, we're going to start to work a little bit in our border. So these two are really coming along. I'm having such a good time with them. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pull some color again. Now I do want to talk about the black tile that I'm working on here just for a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see that I've handled the shading around the black tile a little differently. So here I did it with the stripes, which is really kinetic and fun. It has kind of a party vibe going on. And then over here what I did was is I shaded on the outside edge of the triangles and gave that darker purple instead of doing the striping. And what it did was is it exaggerated a meta tangle that is all around the piece, which I really enjoy. So you can see that just by handling the color a little bit differently, here we did stripes and here we did the shading on the outside edge, it just really gives it a different feel. The other thing that I did differently was I switched up which color I put into the outside. So in this one it was the yellow that I put inside, and then here I used the green and just switched them out. So it really kind of gave it a different feel. And I really want to encourage you to come back and try these things so that you can get what you're looking for when you're working on a piece. It'll be inspiring to you, and that's really what we're going for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to bring a color in from the outside. Now because I've got green on the inside of both of these, I want something that's going to pop off the edge of it. So I'm going to take the black tile away just for a moment and start to bring in that really beautiful goldenrod. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the goldenrod, which is PC, let's see here, 1034, and I'm going to start to shade in the area around the inside piece. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to use the white as a highlight on the outside. So you can see that I'm just starting to work my way around. And I'm working on the side of the pencil here. I'm just getting right in there. And once again, this is giving everything a little bit of continuity, pulling all the colors together, which is nice. It gives a focal point. And just getting right in there and all the way around. Now once I've had a chance to go all the way around on each of these corners, I'm going to add a little bit of that mineral orange. So I'm going to pick back up the mineral orange and I'm going to start to shade about a quarter of the way down from the top. And I would say that I'm giving this about maybe a light to medium push. You know, the colors are so similar that a little bit of pressure on this pencil is a good thing. And then I'll do it on this corner over here just to demonstrate what I'm going for, is I'm looking for a little sheen in the middle. Now once I have that, you can see that that's really added a really nice feel to the piece. I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to add a little bit more of that goldenrod right at the end of the mineral orange just to blend it out a little bit. You can see that I dipped back into it a little bit just to smooth out any roughness that that pencil has. You know, whenever you have these lighter pencils, they have a wonderful ability to blur out the edges of the color pencils when they're touching the texture of the piece. So look at that. Look at the difference between this side and this side. This side is very flat and this side has a lot of dimension. So I'm going to go all the way around and do that. Now I want to pull back in my darker piece in here because, you know, I love the black border that's happening here. I think that it's really offering something interesting. So instead of bringing in that goldenrod and the mineral orange, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white pencil here, and because this is a tan tile, I can go in and create a really nice light highlight around that black tile. So you can see that I'm going to go in and very lightly add a little bit of that white pencil. So this is not the chalk pastel pencil, this is just the Prisma color pencil. So you can see that that gives it a little bit of a pop, and then I'm going to go into the edges and I'm going to push a little bit harder to get a little bit more drama out of it. Now when I go ahead and pick up my white pen too, it'll give it a little bit more pop as well. So you can see that just by pressing a little bit harder on this, look at how beautiful that is. It gives it a really nice electricity, really makes that centerpiece pop. So if you're working on this one, that's what I'm doing there. Okay, so have some fun with these, and then when we come back, we're going to add just a little bit more to the interior. So I'm going to start to add a little bit of detailing into the piece here. I'm going to go to where our little circles are at the end of these lines, and I'm going to come in and start to bring in a little bit of detail in here. So you're going to see me just do a little circle, and then I'm going to fill in or puddle around the circle like so. And I'm going to do that on all of the circles around the piece. Now, if you're working on the gold, look at how pretty this is. I just love the way that this shimmers. It's got such an amazing shimmer to it. Look at that. So I added gold into those circles. And then I know that I haven't been talking about this tile too much, but I'm loving the way that this tile is coming out. This is the one that I did with the white ink on the outside and then the gold ink on the inside. So I did our main sun in gold and then I did white on the exterior. And look at how beautiful that is. So classy and just really has an elegance to it that I'm really enjoying. It almost feels very deserty to me, like a desert tile. So you can see that this one also, I put the gold into those pieces, and look at the shimmer that I'm getting off of that. Really beautiful. So go ahead if you are doing this tile right here and do the black, or if you're working on these, do your gold. All right, have some fun. So look at that. I love the way that the black is popping off and just giving you a little reference point to the piece that's on the outside. Really, really fun. And I'm hoping that you're enjoying this too. It's such a fun tile. So I've actually gone and picked up my white Uniball pen. This is the white Signo, but if you've got the white Sakura pen, you could use that. I'm going to add some highlights into the piece just to get a little bit of finishing touches on it. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on my little star here and come in and create a little bit of white if my pen will allow it. Depends on if my pen will. You know how these pens are. So I'm going to just come in with a little bit of white and create a sheen of light on one side. Really taking my time with it. And then I'll add a couple of dots just for interest. And I love the way that that looks now with the background piece and then this sitting right up above. That really just has a flair for me that I just love. And then I'm going to come to the outside pieces here and just add a little bit of a dot right on the outside edge. So you can see that I'm going to go around and do that onto these as well. So not a ton of white details on this because this particular tile is really busy, and so I don't need to add too much to it to get it to really have a pop. In fact, I really just love what's been going on with the center. Just super, super fun and really getting a lot of interest out of that. Now, I'm going to take these off to the side just for a moment and talk about the black tile. So I'm going to do the same thing for the black tile that I just did on the white tile, where I'm going to add a little bit of white to the side of it. And we'll see once again if my pen's going to allow it. You know these cranky pants pens. So I'm just getting in there, taking my time, and adding a little bit to it. Super, super fun. And then if you want to, you can go out into these pieces once again and start to add some of that white in there. And once again, I think this pen has really hit the skids. It's done. So you can see I'm just going around the outside edge here and adding some of that white. You could even go into your triangles and add little pops of light to get a really nice highlight in here. Now I didn't do this one with the striped pieces because those stripes are so busy, but because these are more monochromatic in their nature, adding a little bit of white to them actually makes it more interesting. So I'm just turning and adding that in. And going all the way around with it. You can see I'm not hitting every single one, but just adding a few here and there. Really, really fun. Now on this particular tile, because there is so much tan in it, I can come into the gold if I wanted to and just add a little dot for some pop. And please be mindful of where you're putting your hand on your tile so that you don't smear or smudge. These pens are gel, so they don't dry right away, but look at how that adds a little bit. And you could even come up into the tips of your star in here. And just add a little bit of light into the edges. Look at how cool that is. Isn't that fun? It just brings in such a nice energy to it. I'm just getting in there and adding that around. Really nice energy in these. Really makes it quite festive. And it always amazes me how just a little bit of white can make such a big difference in a piece. So you can see there, just by adding some white into the outside edge and into the inside edge, it really makes it interesting. The other place that I was going to add a little bit of white to it is just on the outside edge here. You can see I'm just going to come in around the tips and add a little bit of white into the tips of the piece in here, just to frame it up and make it interesting. I'll even come down in here and do the same. And it appears I need to add a little bit more white pencil to this, but just to give it that real nice electricity. So I'm going to let that go off to the side. But before I do, I think I'm going to add one more piece to this, and that is I'm going to go into the flowers and add just a little dot into the flowers as well. So just a little dot. Into these. And now that I'm looking at it, of course, as I'm looking at it, I could even come up in here and just give a little sheen up in there. Look at how pretty that is just by adding a little sheen to it. Making them a little bit more juicy, as it were. So I'm going to let that one go off to the side. And then finally, coming back to this really, really subtle piece that we have here, if you're trying this one out and coming back to the video again, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of that sheen on one side. Once again, I'm going for the darkest part. Adding some to the dots in here. And because so much of this piece is white, there's not really a need for too many highlights in it. Now I will say this about this piece. You can see that I did my shading backwards on it, which I'm happy to do. I'm happy to try different things. And so what I did was I took my green and I left the light around the inside, and then I put the darkness on the tips, which is really beautiful, which is a juxtaposition of what I did the first time. You can see I brought the darkness in towards the center, and now it's going outward, which is really fun. And what you can do is you can come in with your white pencil and blur out your edges a little bit, with that white pencil if you feel like you're getting a strong line of demarcation, which I do feel like I'm getting here. So you can see that I'm just going to go in and start to blur out those edges in here. So if you've got any edges that feel like they're really strong and you want to soften them up, pick up that white pencil from your set and go ahead and clean that up a little bit so that it's a little bit softer. So these are all just different ideas that you can play with as you're creating your piece. So you don't have to do it the same way every time. And these are such wonderful compositions that you can change up and do different things with. I want to give you as many ideas as I possibly can. Okay, so go ahead and finish up those pieces, and then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about finishing up. So I'm going to pick up my gray pencil. This is PC1065, but if you just have a regular graphite pencil, you can use that too. This is my favorite gray pencil. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to frame my gem in here with a little bit of shading. And what this is going to look like is I'm going to come up into the corners here and just very lightly start to dust in a little bit of that gray. And when I say light, I mean barely touching the page light. I'm going to come down over here and do it. And then over in here and do it. And you can see that that creates a little bit of sheen around the piece. And then I'm going to come in towards the center and start to give just a little bit more pressure in here, in here, and over in here. So you can see that that starts to give it a little bit of dimension, which is really what I was shooting for. Now I'm going to pick up my white pencil and start to blur out my edges. Now if you have graphite that you're working with, you can pick up your tortillon and blend it out just a little bit. I'm doing it with my white. And you can see the lovely sheen that that gives that. So go ahead and finish up yours. I'm going to go and do it with the white piece that I have, but I am not going to do it with the black. I'm just going to add a little bit of white into my black. So you can see that I'm just going to come in and just very, very lightly give a little sheen in each of those corners, just to keep it interesting. I'll come down in here, and then I'll press a little bit harder in towards the center to get a little bit more interest. And you can see that that just gave that a really nice pop, which is fun. Okay, go ahead, do yours, and then when we come back, I want to talk about turning these into ornaments. So I love the process of Zentangle. But what I get sad about is that sometimes these things go in a book and they don't see the light of day, or, we just put them off to the side in a box. And I love the idea of taking these particular pieces and turning them into something that will bring joy to another person. And since we're in the holiday season, what I thought would be really fun is to turn these into ornaments. So I'm going to just take the black one off to the side for right now, and you can see that these two are close enough that they would make a really beautiful ornament. So I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to turn them over. And what I'm going to do is I've got a really sweet little piece of ribbon that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to grab a little bit of my glue stick here. Now I'm going to go ahead and just do the perimeter with my glue stick here, and you can see that it gets a really nice purple, so that when I'm putting this together, I can see where the glue is. Now up here in Truckee, everything dries super quick, so I have to be pretty quick about doing this. Otherwise it's going to dry without me being ready for it to dry. So I'm going to take that little ribbon and I'm going to put it right down the center of my piece here, and then I'm going to turn the other one over, and hopefully I've got it in time. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to line these two up so that my ornament will look really nice. Now you can see that I'm slightly off, and the great thing about glue sticks is that they are a little bit malleable, so you can, work it the way that you need to work it. So I'm going to get that right on there. And once I've got those all together, if I've got any excess, I can go ahead and cut that off. And then you have a really beautiful ornament like so. And this is something that is a really beautiful gift that you can give to people, or you could even put this up in a window or up on your wall. It's just a really beautiful way to turn this into an ornament. So I really hope that you will think about giving these away as gifts. We still have time before the holidays, so you can create more of these and give them to family, friends, and neighbors, people that you want to really lift up their spirits and have them enjoy it. And so there you can see how beautiful this little ornament is just by putting a little bit of ribbon inside two of these pieces. Great gift for the holidays. So thanks for joining us for this class. I'm hoping that you're going to share these with friends and family and share your creativity as a gift for people. I think it really lights up the world, and people really love handmade things. There's just something very sacred about it, and I hope that you'll be sharing these with the people that you love and people who bring light into your lives. So if you enjoyed the class, please give us a thumbs up or leave us a nice review. Even better, you can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page and you'll get notified anytime that we have a class going on over here. And if you want to check out all things Tangled Yogi, you can go over to our Facebook page. It's Tangled Yogi Art Community page. And we have tons of students that share their work from the videos, and we all learn from each other and share our work. It's very supportive and wonderful, and I hope that you'll go and join us there as well. You can also go to tangledyogi.com and check out all of our Prime videos. They are our vintage videos. Those are classes that I've done live with students that are a little bit more advanced than these classes. So if you're wanting to take your tangling to the next level, go ahead and check out our vintage videos at tangledyogi.com. Well, this was so much fun, and I really enjoyed sharing this with you. I'm hoping that you have a happy and healthy holiday season. Once again, this is Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi, signing off for now until we tangle together.